What a shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle Casey found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game, the WNBA seems to be struggling to maintain interest. Now, in fairness to the dump, the ratings I'm about to share with you guys, they're not bad. Matter of fact, some of them are actually good, at least when compared to what this dump used to draw, which was nothing. But the reason I think the WNBA is in trouble has less to do with these ratings and more to do with what I think is coming. 20 years ago, the NHL went on strike, canceling the regular season in 2004 going into 2005. I know it might be hard to believe for the kids in Gen Z, LGBT, but the NHL used to be somewhat mainstream. Back in the 90s, star hockey players were actually famous. Wayne Gretzky was a cultural icon, Mario Lemieux, Mark Messier, Brett Hull, Mike Modano, Jaromir Jagr. I can remember players from 30 years ago, but I would have a hard time naming an NHL player today. Even though they were on a bit of a decline going into the mid-2000s, the NHL was still heavily featured on national television. Games were still broadcast on ESPN, ABC. I want to say the NHL was also carried on NBC at the time, but all of that was destroyed once the league went on strike. The main reason for the labor strike: NHL teams were struggling financially. Some teams were on the verge of bankruptcy. Does that sound familiar? Teams wanted to implement a salary cap while players, they wanted a better system of revenue sharing. Are you noticing the similarities? Long story short, the 2004 NHL season was canceled. And here we are 20 years later, and you can make the case that the NHL never fully recovered. NHL games went from ESPN to something called OLN, the Stanley Cup Finals. They were being broadcast on Versus. Throughout most of the regular season, you couldn't find NHL games on national television. This is the reality that the WNBA is looking at if they can't get their heads out of their asses. Or in this case, if they can't get their dildos off the court and back in their pockets. This Caitlin Clark injury, it was the final ingredient for the perfect storm. This injury gave the WNBA the data they need to prove that pretend basketball is 100% reliant on one player. The problem is, WNBA players aren't usually living in reality. They live in this utopian world where they believe they should be paid based on their marginalized status. We are oppressed. We deserve reparations. Donated dildos are not enough. We demand our fair share. Now, to be fair, WNBA players kind of have a point. With ratings and attendance being up, it makes sense that salaries should increase too. But should they increase to an average of $1 million? Can the WNBA afford $1 million salaries? And the real question is, can the WNBA maintain this momentum long term? Uncle KC has his doubts. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's go and get to the sponsor of today's video, my good friends at Sugar Mountain Trading. Are you struggling with back problems? Do you deal with minor aches, minor pains throughout your day, and you don't want to go to the doctor because all the doctor's going to do is find something else wrong with you? Even worse, prescribe addictive medication that you just don't want to take? I hate going to the doctor. So does my wife, who actually deals with back pain. That's why she has started using CBD lotions and oils from Sugar Mountain Trading. Now, this is not THC. Not going to make you fail a drug test. These CBD lotions and oils, they are specifically designed for rapid pain relief. Like I said, my wife deals with nagging back pain from time to time. Tried over-the-counter stuff, the chiropractor, but none of that ever seemed to work. Within 5 minutes of me applying CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading, her pain is gone. I'm telling you, it's damn near magical. Sugar Mountain Trading also offers CBD bar soap that will keep you pain-free and smelling fresh at the same time. Bar soap comes in a variety of scents ranging from lavender all the way to cherry almond. More importantly, all CBD products offered at Sugar Mountain Trading, 100% natural, 100% free of THC. So click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL20. Save 20% off your first purchase with Sugar Mountain Trading. Last Saturday, the Indiana Felines and the Chicago Bravado played on CBS. How many of you knew that? How many of you guys watched this game? 2 months ago, this matchup would have been the leading story throughout the media. But when you don't have the rivalry, when you don't have the storyline of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, this is just another painfully boring pretend basketball game. Unsurprisingly, the Chicago Bravado got their ass kicked again. As you guys know, the Bravado have busted their ass this season, making sure their ass was well prepared to take a good beating. The result of the game was inconsequential. The Felines had multiple players in double figures, while players on the Bravado, they struggled to score points that matched their win total for the season, which is 8. But the most interesting data for this game was the ratings. Felines Bravado, CBS. 1.3 million viewers. Well, Casey, this is amazing! These ratings are great! Yeah, that's a great number for the WNBA, especially considering the fact that both Caitlin Clark and Me-Bound Barbie were injured. Caitlin Clark is still dealing with a groin injury. Think she's out for the rest of the season. When teams are generally vague with timelines for a player's return, it normally means the player is nowhere close to returning. Angel Reese, she is still dealing with some injury. If I had to guess, Angel Reese is dealing with a back injury, back problems. She's been carrying the Bravado all season to an impressive 8-23 record. Takes a lot of hard work to be that bad. While 1.3 million is great, it is the least watched Felines Bravado game since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA dump. But I've noticed a trend recently with WNBA ratings. For starters, games not involving the Indiana Felines seem to be struggling. Back in June, the LA Sparkles played the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces on Ion. 459,000 viewers. 2 weeks later, Sparkles, Minnesota Linkers on CBS, 702,000. That seems to be the number that the WNBA is averaging when the Indiana Felines are not playing, around 700,000 viewers, which compared to past seasons, that's a great number. But that's not the only trend I'm noticing. Uncle KC has noticed that we're not being given ratings for every nationally televised WNBA game. June 24th, Sparkles Bravado played on ESPN. Angel Reese was healthy. She played. Now, according to the mainstream media, Angel Reese is a huge star. What were the ratings? No one knows. July 12th, Linkers Bravado played on ABC. The following day, Winkers Felines played on ABC, drew 2.1 million viewers. How many did the Linkers and the Bravado draw the day before? According to Sports Media Watch, ratings weren't available. July 22nd, the Atlanta Dreamers and the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces on ESPN. Now, the Felines and the New York Lesbians, they had the first game of this doubleheader and drew 1.2 million viewers. What did Dreamers Anonymous Faces draw? Outside of drawing their parents' phone number on the missing persons report, no one knows. I could keep going, but I think you get the point. Why would ratings not be released? You tell me. Let me know in the comments below. Why would ratings not be released? Maybe, just maybe, a lot of these nationally televised games are underperforming. That's the only reasonable assumption that I can come up with. Why else wouldn't the WNBA release the ratings? One of my channel members yesterday made an interesting observation. We might not see Caitlin Clark on a basketball court until May of 2027. If the 2026 WNBA season is canceled and Caitlin Clark does not join Unrivaled, she will not be on the court for 2 years. He asked me, if that were to happen, will Caitlin Clark have the same drawing power? I don't know. It's hard to imagine that she would. 2 years in this era of instant gratification, 2 years is an eternity. But even if Caitlin Clark joins Unrivaled, would that be enough to make them profitable? Would that be enough to make them legitimate competition to the WNBA? Caitlin Clark was in the dump last year. They still lost $50 million. Either way, if you're the WNBA, you cannot afford a strike. You cannot afford a canceled season. This league doesn't have enough of a dedicated fan base to survive a canceled season. Think about what's happening with the WNBA right now. They're in the latter stages of the regular season. No one's really talking about it. Outside of winged wieners flying on the court, no one's talking about the WNBA. What is the major storyline? Since the NFL preseason started, the WNBA has kind of faded from the mainstream. Once the NFL regular season starts, forget about it. This is not Major League Baseball. This is not even the NHL. The WNBA doesn't have enough of a diehard fan base to survive a canceled season. And WNBA players know it. They've got all the leverage. Unrivaled is offering six-figure salaries. They are paying Paige Beckers $350,000 when, literally, no one is paying to see her play in Dallas. Go look at attendance for the Dallas Wankers. One of their home games last week, 6,000 people. I think the WNBA is in trouble. I'm telling you. And I feel like I might be the only one saying this, and maybe it's because I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'm overlooking something, but there's a reason the league is hesitant to hand out million-dollar salaries. They have got access to data that we don't have. This is potentially a lose-lose for the WNBA. You give into player demands, you potentially lose. You stand your ground, you potentially lose. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.